Hey, and welcome to Navigating the Universe. I'm your host, Michael Turlock, and with me is our wonderful co-host, Zach Canania from Calgary, Alberta, and Mark Baker, now residing in Portugal, or still residing in Portugal. There you go. Okay, so how are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing very well. How are you doing?
Likewise.
Yeah, not too bad. It's we're on 3 different time zones, so this seems to work out. What time is it there now, Mark?
I am on UK time actually.
Oh, okay. So you're like I think about 6 or 8 hours behind me. So I'm 15 hours ahead of mountain time. How's
Yeah,
that?
relative to mountain time, I am 7 hours ahead.
So
Okay.
5:20 p.m. for you?
Exactly.
Nice.
And it's 1:20 a.m. in the morning for me, but I've got my wonderful synthetic sun sitting over in front of me here, so it's waking me up.
Keep you wide awake so we can interrogate you.
I got to keep my
So,
glasses on so I keep that synthetic light from getting
yeah.
into my RNA.
So you already have that synthetic sun. Are you connected with Bill Gates?
Bill Gates and me go way back, and back then I knew I should have taken him out.
You have the opportunity. Mm.
No, I can't say I had the displeasure. So yeah, it shouldn't be like that, but I am. Anyways, yeah, no, yeah, we'll give this. Actually, this light is kind of neat, but it's LED lighting, which is obviously not very good for us. But these glasses I'm wearing are the blue light reflector glasses. So as we know, the LED light has that blue and green coloring, which is synthetic light, which actually adheres to your RNA, which is not a good thing. So it is a good idea to wear these things. Um, Also, probably the biggest thing to do about that is doing the out of phase, shifting out of phase of the energy of the LED light is also very, very beneficial as we have the ability to do that too. So what we're going to talk about today, gentlemen, I think we all decided on or agree with. We're going to look at social media and how powerful it is on a subconscious level and a conscious level, and how with it's really easy to not see what it actually does to a person's individual life. Like I'm finding for me, for example, if I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do, grab my phone and look at an email, um, and that contains a video about some kind of agenda in the world, then my awareness is drawn into that. And right away, my thought process is into that. So I'm thinking about that. So I'm really throwing myself off of my natural ability to create from my organic self without something jumping into my mind space to take my awareness somewhere else. So, if I actually wake up, don't touch the phone, for me personally, I'm going to be more feeling myself, feeling, my heart. Where am I? How do I feel? I'm going to be aware of my awareness. I'm going to be aware of my functionality in this reality and how I'm feeling, because how I'm feeling is really what's really true. And as I go into that feeling and get information out of that, whatever I'm feeling, then I can kind of take note of where I am, and um, if I have any distortions or any kind of fears, I can look into them and neutralize them, so to speak, or bring them back to a state of peace within myself, and I can start my day and do a routine, go for a walk, enjoy the sun, enjoy the mother nature, maybe do some qigong or some energy work, and work on my energetic fields, and just kind of get into a rhythm of more of being more natural. But again, if I get onto my phone and get a little pissed off about an email, it puts me in a wrong frame of mind, and I start getting into a wrong emotional state or a negative emotional state that doesn't help myself, doesn't help my friends or family, and adds to the negativity that the agenda is wanting to do as far as bringing the vibration of the human race down. So that's my long-winded intro. And yeah, if you gentlemen would like to add into that, that'd be, I'd really like to hear your wisdom on that part of it.
I'll let you go first, Mark.
Okay. So it is definitely a big subject and a very complex one. So what I feel like starting with, I've been a latecomer in the social media space. I resisted for years entering it, and the way I finally joined social media was that I was following a teacher at the time, and she was progressively launching Facebook pages in different languages. And at some point, I was asked to manage her French Facebook page. And in order to do that, I needed to have my own Facebook page. So I created one. And initially, when I saw all the people I knew I could connect with via Facebook, it gave me a kind of a little rush, you know? It felt really nice to all of a sudden be able to communicate in a kind of fluid way with all these people. But I never went beyond a few hundreds, and even with a few hundreds supposed friends, I find it really overwhelming. I don't understand how people can have thousands of Facebook friends. How are they even managing that? You know, are they spending their whole day reading all the posts from their friends on Facebook? It's really weird, very weird. It is really very striking for me to observe my own experience when I am in that space, how you are really sucked into it and how you can spend an awful lot of time that would probably be much better spent engaging in other activities once you are into it. And it was really designed to work that way. And I consider myself to be part of a segment of the general population that is more on the aware side of the spectrum. So I can't even imagine how it must be for people who are not very discerning, not very questioning, not very aware. They must be like putty, you know, in the hands of the potter once they enter social media space. What we know about social media, and that's a fact that is well documented, is that they were created by the a section, a facet of the military-industrial intelligence complex. So Facebook was created with money from DARPA, which is the investment arm of the Pentagon, basically. And there are people whose job at Facebook and other social networks is specifically to design the functionalities that are going to be most efficient in inducing people to stay as long as possible glued to their account. Mm-hmm. Really, there are people who work only on that project, if I can call it that way. So it's really designed to be made as addictive as possible. And there has been that documentary that was released not long ago that is addressing that aspect. So it's The Social Network. And I was hearing someone recently saying that she had started watching it, but that she couldn't watch for very long because
Yeah, I
even
think
though
it's
she
called
found,
the social dilemma.
yeah,
Yep.
that's it, the social dilemma. Right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So she couldn't watch it for very long because she found that the energy that was emanating from it, even though the people who were intervening had valid points to make, she found the energy really weird and very difficult to digest. And I had the same experience. You know, I started watching it because I had friends saying, "Ooh, it's so great! You must watch that!" and very, very interesting and on point. Okay, so I started, and I believe I lasted about 10 minutes. So there's that whole vibe. Once it comes to social networks, there is that whole vibe that is really um, distorted. It is really distorted and unpleasant in many ways because it's a bit of a spider web. It's very sticky. It's very sticky, and the more you go into it, the more you entangle yourself. And to me, ultimately, and there are other aspects as well. Of course, it has positive aspects. Of course, anything has positive and negative aspects. But when I look at that addictive and grabbing and entangling aspect of that space, ultimately, this is a vampiric phenomenon to me. Ultimately, it is, when you look at the energetics of it, it is designed to suck mind energy and consciousness energy and feed it into the entities who are behind that infrastructure. So ultimately, these energies are being fed to the overlord of the um, internet infrastructure. That is the god of technical intelligence. And for those of our viewers who are Doctor Who fans, maybe you saw that episode of Doctor Who where people were literally sucked into the cloud, and they were being fed to an entity called the Great Intelligence. And they were trapped, and they kept repeating, "I don't know where I am, I don't know where I am, I don't know where I am." So I found that one very on point because even though it doesn't happen at a physical level, at a mental level, it is very much happening.
Mhm.
It's, yeah, very, very well said. Thank you for that, Mark. It really, it's the creation of a different reality that doesn't exist, but they get the people to create the reality through, starting a race off, and everybody starts going, and they've actually designed a race course where they follow the racetrack. There's actually no race if the bikes don't run that course and run that track. The track's there. So, those that have created Facebook, and as you mentioned, the military and the CIA, I know, were behind a lot of that construction of Facebook and in relationship with the guys that own it and so on. So it is a way of steering the human being into a direction that brings the vibration to feed those entities that are really who they are, so that it empowers them and keeps their agenda going. So I think people should realize that, and really step back again and be aware of their existence and be aware of what they're creating and understand that they're creating through their thought goes through their mind and through their emotional fields. That when you get engaged to this stuff, take note of your emotional state. How does it change? Now you're actually creating a different reality that where the racetrack is presented. And so you're running that track that really isn't your racetrack or isn't your, your path through the woods. You're taking somebody else's track instead of from your heart. What track do I actually want to take that comes from your heart, comes from your intuitive understanding and knowingness of your greater self, your greater being, and your wisdom in the universe. So, sorry, Zach, should let you speak in there, kind of jump in there.
No, it's okay. That's great stuff you brought up, because like these systems are in place because they want to keep us distracted from finding our own internal power, right? So the economic system, for example, is the way it is. It fills up our complete agenda, our complete schedule for the week, because most people are just working to survive, and they try and keep us as busy as possible in that economic system so that we don't go within, so we don't realize our true power and our true potential, and we don't start questioning things. They just want us to be as busy as possible and as distracted as possible so we don't find that inner power. When it comes to the internet, the same thing. It's the same agenda. They keep them as distracted as possible, feed into these entities that are the technical intelligence, give all of our energy to those other beings rather than keeping it for ourselves. And of course, like Mark was saying, there are positive aspects of the internet, of course. Just like there's positive aspects of anything when you look at it through the right perspective. But they design these things to give us a dopamine hit. And when we experience that dopamine or pleasure hit, we're addicted to it. We start becoming more and more engaged in this thing rather than taking a step back and zooming out and realizing how much time we're spending on these things. The notifications are red for a reason. It's like red alert, like give me your attention, red. Like they designed the color of it for a reason. The next video starts immediately after the previous video ends to keep you engaged and going and going. And before you know it, you spend all this time without even realizing it. And that's the people that design the apps and the engagement for a reason, like to keep it that way, to keep you engaged and to make you lose sense of yourself and lose sense of time and all these things. So I'm not saying that the solution is to completely unplug, because it's very difficult in the world today to do that. And I do see great value in sharing your authentic self online, or sharing your gifts, such as guitar lessons for you, Michael, or it's a very good way to express yourself and to attract business or to keep in touch with old friends and stuff like that. Obviously, we've all experienced that. But to just be conscious of how much time we're spending and how much comparing we're doing, because I think the biggest things that people get lost in are the comparison game with social media, and the validation, seeking external validation without finding your own internal validation. And when people are seeking for validation externally and not approving of themselves within, they lose themselves and they start to do things that lose their dignity. Like so many women on Instagram, for example, unfortunately are selling their bodies essentially to gain followers and to get attention because they're not fulfilling themselves from within. And it's unfortunate because they start off as innocent, sweet souls who just go on and they start comparing it. It always starts with the comparison. They see other people doing it and they're getting attention. And so they start to lose their values more and more as they try and also gain the same attention that they think is going to fulfill them. But it's really a dead end. You're not actually gaining power. It's just you're only gaining a quick hit of like the likes or the attention that you're getting. But little by little, you give more of your power away more and more, rather than acquiring power like you think it is. Like any quick hit in life, whether it's likes on Instagram or getting drunk or getting high or any of these quick little hits, that we experience are very temporary and they do not provide long lasting happiness. So we have to be conscious of that before we start losing our dignity and our values by sharing certain things that we normally wouldn't online. And yeah, I mean, it can be unfortunate, but it can also be a blessing if we can take a step back, stay centered in our values, stay centered in our hearts, be conscious of how much time we're spending online and spending away from, you're essentially spending that time away from your face-to-face interactions, and you're investing it in virtual interactions. And it's just not the same, it's not the interface of life that we're designed to experience. We're designed to experience the world. We're not designed to experience technical reality for like a simulation. We're meant to experience, even though this reality can also be considered a simulation, but we're meant to experience the physical world. So yeah, that's, I guess, my perspective on this as a whole.
Yeah, thank you for that. Great words from both of you for sure. And I like the fact, you talk about the positives, both of you, both, because there is definitely very huge positives in, like Messenger and in Facebook and keeping in touch with people and sending, pictures of your like location or, wishing somebody happy birthday or something. And the fact that notifications up to come up to remind you that, it's your sister's birthday or something like that, which we know, but in this day and age where everything is so busy and our minds are taken away by a lot of different things, we can forget. So I'm grateful for that part where I can, like wish somebody a happy birthday and send them a nice picture or whatever, especially being on the other side of the world right now. So yeah, absolutely right, Mark and Zach, is, we live in a universe of contrasting expressions, and the equation always needs to be balanced out. So there's always a positive for what appears to be negative, and there's always going to be a negative for what appears to be a positive. I find, for me, I try to, and I'm having pretty good success staying more in the middle. In the beginning, made joke about Bill Gates and that. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of his and his his agenda amongst other elite beings that have this same agenda of depopulating the earth. The aspect of me that is quite a warrior in this universe, that has fought many battles in other lives and other star systems, is very, very ignited in me. But I realize that in this time of completion, it's not about being that physical warrior. It's about being a different kind of warrior. So I've learned to, obviously I still check out information through social media when it's sent to me, but I really use my intuitive understanding or feelings within myself. Does this resonate with me? Will this message resonate for me? Is it for me? Do I need to look at it at this moment? Or maybe, 6 hours from now, it feels more appropriate. So for me, I've always practiced using my intuitive abilities, and I even naturally use them throughout pretty much my whole life being here. So for me, it's really helped because, like I said, the warrior archetype in me is very, very strong, and it doesn't like to see the pain that's caused through a lot of things here. Or it gets pretty activated when I see that. So I have to step back and realize the reality that I've decided to venture into, and have respect and honor for all those that decide to have the journeys that they have. If I can make a difference and somebody wants my help in some way, I'm there, easily and willing to help. But I find, for me, if I get caught up in a negative article about what really feels negative with what's going on, which there is a lot of negativity going on for sure, a lot of bad things. I find I can affect that negativity the best by being in my heart soul essence and spreading my love from my life and my heart into that and transmuting that energy so that many more actually have a softened life through that, or through this time of this agenda, or any kind of pain in their lives. I know we all do affect the human conscious field, the human subconscious field, the morphogenic field that we're all tied into with Mother Earth. So that's where I really focus on now. You know, if I need quiet time, I get out by the ocean here and just feel into Mother Earth and everything here, and let my light out. And if we all do that, this world will heal so incredibly fast, instead of stepping into those synthetic versions of reality that really are not true to what we're about. But we are using them, so let's use them in a more non-judgmental way.
Definitely, yeah. And just before I let you speak, Mark, I was just gonna say, like, just being conscious of how we're training our brains, because the way that Michael was describing, he's essentially practicing presence with all that he does by being heart-centered and being in nature and taking things slower. And in this fast-paced world where not only do our lives demand a lot of us, but when you add technology to that with all these notifications and your phone ringing or buzzing all the time for you to check it for things that don't really matter, we're more and more training ourselves to be not present and to be distracted and to be removed from our surroundings, and that takes a toll. Like, and then when you go back to focus on someone or something that truly does matter, you find yourself not present. You find your mind wandering. You find it hard to focus on what they're saying or what you're doing, and it's because of how we've trained ourselves. So that's why meditation is so important. That's why practicing just being present with nature or with your loved ones or your friends, whoever you're talking to, is such a valuable practice, because we've just the way society has been designed has been training us to be distracted. So I think, yeah, any practice involving presence is very valuable to regain our conscious presence and awareness.
Yeah. And if I put this into the really broad context of the biggest picture, any entity who wants to conquer you, what they will try to do is to calibrate your energy for you to be a match for their own domain, so that you can be assimilated into that domain. And traditionally, the gods have done that mainly through religion, through a ritual and ceremony and buildings that are very specifically built according to certain geometric principles. Now, there is technology. There is technology, and you can really see that calibration at work. And when you were saying, Zach, when you were mentioning the fast-paced aspect, I find it very striking with young people, because they are very, very susceptible to that influence, because they have grown up in that influence. They were completely immersed with it from the start. We are older folks, so we've had a different experience growing up. We remember the old days. But it's really noticeable in their speech patterns. They tend to speak very, very fast. They tend to tumble on their own words, because they lack the grounding that the connection with the planet gives. They lack the stability, and they are functioning mainly on that mental level that is plugged into the technological ecosystem. And it is actually the primary modus operandi of the God of technical intelligence to sever people from their connection with their mother planet so they can be assimilated. So to me, that's really a demonstration of that. And it doesn't mean that it cannot be remedied and that it's forever and that they will be there and that it's a lost generation, like people say. The moment you put people back in touch with nature, it can change very quickly.
Yeah, Mark,
Yeah.
just a question. I think, there might be a lot of people that view this that kind of wonder when we're talking about the gods or, the severing of the human race from Mother Earth. And so I was just wondering if you could explain a little bit more in detail about that scenario, about who are the gods and that plan of severance of humanity from Mother Earth.
Okay, so I'll try to summarize that because it's a really big subject.
Right.
So who are the gods? Well, they are basically the overlords of the matrix of synthetic light. So they have created that universal paradigm, which is not the whole universe, just a small part of it. But from our perspective, it's still pretty massive. So they have created that multidimensional construct with their own version of light, their own actually distorted version of light. And all religions are spawned from the gods and are engineered to do what I just described, to calibrate people's consciousness and energy fields so that they can be assimilated into the synthetic light construct. And what does a god want to do? Basically, a god wants to control, and a god wants to feed upon others' energies that they consider to be lesser beings, which is kind of ironic, because if you are so high and mighty and lofty, why do you need to feed on others? Why can't you generate your own sustenance? But basically, that's their mindset. All of you little people and peasants, you're here to feed me, and in exchange, I'll grant you favors. But first, you need to feed me with your devotion and your worship. That is something that is described in the later seasons of the TV series Stargate SG-1. For those who remember that, you have these beings who are called the Ori or Ori. I think the Ori, because I've seen the French version, so I don't know how they pronounced it in the original one. I'm going to say Ori. These entities who were doing just that. They were feeding from the life force of their worshippers, and they were sending armies of these worshippers to convert and or conquer new worlds, to join their flock. So basically, that is what the gods are doing. They create in a way that enables them to control what they create, which is mainly through geometry, because geometrical patterns enable them to confine, and what is confined can be controlled, or so they think. Anyways, the god of technical intelligence is like the new kid on the block when it comes to the gods. He was the most recent among these entities, even though by our standards he's quite ancient. Well, it is quite ancient by our standards. The god of technical intelligence is an offshoot, I would say, of the greater technical intelligence entity. So it is a distorted offshoot of that really vast intelligence that is inhabiting technology. So that God does what the other gods do. It infiltrates, it manipulates, it conquers, it assimilates.
Right.
And it has achieved a very prominent position among the gods. It's not number one, but it's become pretty prominent. So
Yeah, and thank you for sharing all that. You know, like you said, it is quite a topic, and it can go on for hours and hours and hours and days and weeks to really, you know, understand the magnitude of it. Um, you know,
A
not that
question as
we,
well.
not, sorry?
I have a question about that actually, all that
Yeah,
synthetic
and
light.
if I could just say one more thing here, it's
Of course, yeah.
um, yeah, because I know from, you know, any new listener watching what and listening to what we're talking about can be overwhelming, but and you know, and it is, like I said, so much to, you know, the rabbit hole is very deep with what's really truly going on here in this time on this planet. So, but you know, when you understand that we're much more than just, not just, but we are this human expression, but we are multi-dimensional, multi-layered. We don't only exist in the human form like we've been taught is the only way we exist. It's false. And there's a lot of us here, since, you know, being a young child, we had this deep knowingness inside that life was much more than we were told by our, you know, lovingly our mother and father, or, you know, school teachers and things. For me, anyways, personally, there's always a knowingness that there was so much more to life, or even a recurring dream that I had, that I knew I came and lived somewhere else before I got incarnated into this reality. So the fact of the Great Awakening, where people start to get more spiritual, more understanding of energy and how energy works, our life force, our emotional fields, and you know, trees are actually beings of a different kind of different state than we are with heart and lungs. They breathe a different way through their leaves and through photons and all that. And that life is so vast that we were just taught that there's only a certain brand of life that meets a certain requirement here. Yeah, the trees are alive, but you know, they're not intelligent and all this stuff, when really everything is universal energy. You know, as George Costanza says, we're all made of the same stuff within this universe. So, and we do know that, you know, there's dark, there's light, there's turning on a light switch and you have light, there's turning off a light switch and you have darkness. There's left and right, there's west and east, and north and south. There's always a different expression to one direction in this universe. There's you know, there's ugly, there's beautiful, you know, and what we put these terms to. Um, so there is there is, you know, depending on the journey that one needs in this universe, there may be a journey where you need to be very evil, and there is definitely very evil people or beings that are here now, and you can see that with you know, with people like Bill Gates, who actually the entity is being in there just by using your own intuition, your feeling, and feeling what this being is about. You can actually tell what the being within that human expression is. Um, at the same time, I realize that that is that being's journey for their own individual wisdom, and actually as a collective for what's going on a different level. We actually contracted this being to do what it's doing to us so that we can go with the challenge and the wisdom that we gain from this. And from our greater aspect of ourselves, we get so much stronger and so much wiser, and for our own creative process and abilities to create in this universe in harmony with the true organic universal creator that is the being of this universe. So, like Mark said, you know, with the gods that impose, um, they, you know, they're very smart, they're very intelligent, and they're very good at what they've done because they've done it for eons and eons of time throughout this universe. And it's like you mentioned, Zach, it's that high, it's that kind of addiction that they have to feeding off of others and then feeling so good and so mighty that I love it when people are in servitude to me or give power to me and think I'm so beautiful that I want that all the time. And that's what's happened to these beings. So they call themselves gods, but in the true reality of it, they are not our creators. They have fooled us into thinking that they are our creators and that we need to be grateful for what they've done for us. But as you've mentioned, Zach, why would a creator need us to give energy back to them when they already had that energy to create us? You know what I mean? Like, why? It would already be there. Like, there would be no need to have them. There would be no need to have them say humans should be on their knees and giving power to them because there's no
Yeah.
need for them to have that power because they already have that power, right? So that the true organic universal creator is a friend, is not in hierarchical form, is loving, wants you to go through any challenge that you want to, and is always there to be with you in a loving way. You know, being a hiker and being a person that's been very much by myself, hiking and out in the bush and camping and stuff. You know, I've always, as a little boy, I would feel that loving being, that the being I called God within me. But it was never the same being as the being we give power to or servitude in church. You know, I couldn't stand going to church. You know, me and my younger brother used to laugh and giggle because it just meant nothing to us. You know, it was just like, you know, how soon can we get this over with and get home so we can go run around the yard and play our games, which is really what the true organic universal creator wants. You're supposed to have fun here. You're supposed to have adventure. You're supposed to smile and laugh. You're supposed to do everything you want to do and have so much fun. It's not about being in servitude or being, you know, oh, it's just little me and I have to be in pain and I'll be in pain and I'll barely get by with my weekly allowance from the government who really cares about me. You know, that's all fucking bullshit. You know, and it's time for people to realize the powerful beings that they are and really feel into yourself and really connect with that real organic universal creator that is the essence of this universe and get away from um, you know, we're all grateful for contracting these beings that say they're our creators, they're our gods or whatever. But you know, when it's time for an individual to move past that, you know, really look into your heart, get past that, get past the chakra system, which is that Atlantean technology, which is part of the gods again, and really connect into. It's very simple. Your heart, soul, essence. Really, just connecting to your heart. It's actually simplicity. Simplicity. So man, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I got a lot of energy.
Good man. No, clearly you're passionate about this because it's true. Like, the human being has been repressed by religion for way too long, and it's time that we all start pulling our head out of our ass. Like, there's no there's no way that all-knowing, omnipresent, omnipotent, universal creator would ever need any energy from us or any devotion or whatever. It's powerful in its own existence. It doesn't need any of us to
No,
feed
what
it anything.
what that actually signals, you know, when beings demand that much worship and adulation, that signals a mighty insecurity.
Yes, exactly. And clearly they're coming from lack and not realizing the true abundance of this universe. And like, if you ever feel drained from going to church, which I know a lot of people do, it's just a kind of a soul-sucking experience where you just go and you listen to this thing that you don't really want to, and they say that we need to ask for forgiveness because we're not worthy and we're judged for everything, and there will come a judgment day, and whatever story that a particular religion has. It's like, we are not judged for anything by the true universal creator. It understands every trial and turbulation that we go through in this reality, and it doesn't condemn us for any of it. It knows that we are all going to make mistakes. We're all going to overcome a lot of things. We're all going to evolve on our own agendas, and we're not going to need to ask for forgiveness because there's nothing to forgive in the first place. And yeah, I like what Michael was saying about Bill Gates too, because we don't have to hand our power away to someone who might seem like they have more power than us and they're doing bad things with it, because on a deeper level, we've contracted them on a soul level, and we're all just souls playing roles. He is serving a purpose in the malevolent sense so that we all can experience our benevolence more. So in a way, he's helping us discover our own power, and that goes for Hitler, that goes for any person who was frowned upon in the entirety of history. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys mentioned those things. And in terms of the synthetic light, I was just going to ask you guys, so my understanding of organic light is that the wisdom and the love that is contained within the organic light manifests through photons, which are light particles, and we receive those photons, whether it's from the sun through sun gazing, and you can just feel how nourishing it is for the soul to look at the sun or to feel the sun on your skin, and just the loving warmth that you feel, the organic loving warmth. So I'm just curious, like, does synthetic light also come through photons and maybe a distorted version of photons, or like the light that you were saying from the blue light that comes from our devices? Or I'm just curious, like, how does that manifest in the physical for us?
Yeah, so the photons are a physical manifestation of light. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about synthetic light, it's not in physical terms. It is not a synthetic light. It is light as it is experienced in other dimensions of life. I don't know whether you can actually experience synthetic light at the physical level. But regarding the blue light that emanates from screens, what that is the isolation of a very small segment of natural light. So you have the full spectrum of physical light, and they have extracted a very small segment of that, the blue segment of a full spectrum light. So why specifically the blue segment? Well, the answer to that is pretty revealing, and it's pretty disgusting as well. Blue light has the characteristic of attacking the mitochondria. When it is isolated from the rest of the light spectrum, it attacks the mitochondria in the cells. And the mitochondria are the energy source of the cell. That is their most obvious and scientifically described characteristic, but there's a deeper aspect to it. So the mitochondria are transmitted by the mother. So it is the connection, the genetic connection with the mother at the physical level. At a metaphysical level, it is connection with the planet, the mother planet. So what happens when your mitochondria is attacked? Your connection with the planet is under attack. And that is how your connection with the planet gets severed.
Right.
So the gods, how did they hypnotize you? Through their rituals and their buildings and their hymns and their songs. How does the TI god hypnotize you? Through screens, through the black monolith, as shown in 2001: A Space Odyssey, through worshipping at the altar of the black monolith, first television, and then computer screens, and then smartphones. and the addiction is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. It's hypnotic, and it's also attacking your connection so that you can be fully assimilated. So it's very interesting also when you were mentioning dopamine, Zach, that these likes are generating a little dopamine rush, which makes it all the more addictive. In nature, what is supposed to create a dopamine rush? Watching the sunrise. Watching the sunrise. That is releasing dopamine. So now people, instead of going watch the sunrise, they're they're checking their likes on their phones. So one thing I've done about that is that I have disabled the notification on all the apps I have on my phone. I have completely disabled all notifications, so I'm not getting pinged all the time.
Very smart move.
Yeah, and it's also helping in terms of radiation, because when there is that constant back and forth between your phone and the closest cell phone tower, it is constantly making the radiation spike.
Yeah.
So it's also a smart move for that matter. So what I was mentioning about blue light, that is a form of toxicity that very, very few people are aware of, you know. Even people who understand about electromagnetic radiation toxicity, very few understand that there is blue light toxicity. It's the most insidious form, really. And so wearing blue blockers like you do, Michael, is a very smart thing to do, because it's going to shield your eyes from that blue light.
I just add one thing there, Mark. I love what you're talking about. It's such good stuff with the glasses. It's really dark here right now, and I've got this LED light shining on the computer screen. So this is where these are really important. If you're outside and there's a lot of natural light, it's actually not, you can take these off with your computer or your phone. It's because you have that natural sunlight, or even if it's cloudy.
Yes,
it's not as bad. So just wanted to make that point.
Yes. So if you are indoors during daylight, the best thing to do is to open a window, because your window, the glass of your windows, is also filtering natural daylight and enhancing certain parts of the spectrum and filtering down other parts of the spectrum. So yeah, when you are indoors and the weather allows it, so maybe not in Canada in winter, you open the window and you'll be fine, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to say is I love what you said about being mindful of your energy and attitude when you're on social networks. Well, number one, you might want to be discerning and picky about which social networks you choose to engage with, because from one social network to the other, the ecosystem can be pretty different. And I remember James Corbett, who's a really amazing alternative media journalist. He said a few years ago, okay, now I'm out of Twitter for good, because he had found that the fundamental message that was being put on offer on Twitter was, I hate you. Because anyone who spent some time on Twitter and seen the exchanges there, you know, it's like the baseline, you know, it's like the bottom line of people who are engaging in controversies with one another on Twitter. It's like the bottom line, I hate you. So yeah, so which social network are you choosing to be present on? And once you are on, yeah, if you can be there with the energy of your heart and your essence, that's a big, big game changer. it's a big, big game changer, because not only are you keeping your own energy and state of mind and attitude in a balanced and wholesome state, but you are also radiating that into that ecosystem. So you are helping evolve it and transform it and heal it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so of course there is also the aspect of okay, what are you even viewing? What are you choosing to view when you are there? And me personally, I tend to avoid the really heavy and dark and traumatizing content. Not systematically, because there are things you need to be aware of, but to dwell in that kind of information again and again and again on a constant basis, it's really not healthy. So I rather go for more uplifting or funny type of content. Funny, not necessarily in a silly way, because you certainly can make a lot of fun of the pandemic and all of its aspects. And I really love to repost and share memes and drawings that make fun of that. So yeah, it's a matter of discernment and exercising your freedom of choice.
Well
Yeah,
said. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Well said, Mark. Both of you. I really like this show. I think we're bringing out some really valuable information in so many areas that are related to this social media topic. Yeah, there's this. I think it's balance, right? The direction of humanity is really going with this technological aspect, especially right now where a lot of people are being isolated. So this is definitely very advantageous. Like you mentioned before, Zach, I use Zoom to teach music lessons. Otherwise I couldn't do that. So, of course, being in a different area of the world and being back in touch with people in Canada who I can teach in, and which is a very positive thing. So, I think it's balance. How long do you sit at the computer? Your body's designed to move. You've got legs that make you walk. You've got to get the blood flowing and oxygenate the body, and think about the physical health aspects as well. I was kind of listening to this gentleman talk from Australia, and he does acupuncture and qigong and really into health for like 40 years. And he said when you wake up in the morning to realize that you are in basically a war zone, for your physical body. So how do you protect yourself, mind, body, and spirit, or strengthen yourself, mind, body, and spirit for the day that's coming about you? Um, I think that's really important, again, not to dive into, these and start taking yourself away from what's important with you. How do I keep my mind healthy? How do I keep my spirit healthy? How do I keep my physical body healthy? I've been lying in bed for how many hours and the body isn't moving. So let's work with all three aspects and start the day going, go for a walk, drink some water, take some, you know, homeopathy or whatever you need to take to help your vibrational state and enjoy the sun like Mark was saying and get your natural organic dopamine from Mother Nature. And then when you fueled up your body, your mind, your spirit's feeling good, your physical body feels good, you're sweating, and you're getting some natural abilities by walking, then you can come and check it out and then get into that. How long am I going to stay on that? Maybe 15, 20 minutes. Okay, time for my breakfast. And then design your healthy breakfast being the most important meal of the day to start your stuff going. That's another thing, I think we should do a health show too. I know so many people that don't eat breakfast and don't feel it's important, and it's such a terrible decision. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and you should taper down as you go. Like you got to fuel all three aspects. It's pretty amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, just getting back, we've been kind of jumping around, but it's all interrelated to social media and technology and so on. Getting back to the gods, like for me, when I identify who the gods are, if we go back into Greek times and look at Poseidon, Apollo, and Aphrodite, and Zeus and all of them, they are actually those beings that we're talking about, but they go by different names in different aspects of time, different epochs of time, and so on. So, those beings are very, very real, and they are around us now. They just go under different names. So, in Bali and every different cultures of the world, they name them differently. So, to me, it's not really super important to understand their names as to who they are. I feel them energetically by their signature, who they are, and that's my relationship to them. So, but again, go into your heart's soul essence and unite with the true universal being that is this universe. And you can't exist here without calibrating with that being. And it's a very beautiful relationship. So.
Yeah, good stuff as well. I'll just mention a couple things. So like pertaining to the area of the world that we're in, like you were saying, Bali has a different energetic signature. Every area of the world has a different energetic signature. And again, I think I've mentioned this in the past, but it's you can look up your astrology when you enter your birthday into astral cartography. And the key word is cartography. When you search that up, just go cartography free reading, and you just enter in your birth time and stuff, just like you would it for an astrology reading, and it'll show you which areas of the planet you will resonate with most, and which are best for your communication, which are best for love, which are best for your expansion, and which will challenge you. And you'll find, like, when you go to each one of these areas, that there is quite a bit of resonance there. A lot of us have big gaps as well, where it's called a neutral zone, where you won't really experience too much of anything challenging or expansive, and you can just really use that as a resting area or whatever. But it really takes an adjustment of, like, integrating into each new zone that we find ourselves in on the planet, to get used to the different energies there, because every area has its own history in terms of what's gone on in humanity there, and those energies still exist. So if there's a war on the land, those energies are going to be there. Some souls might still be around, lingering from the time that they died in a war or something like that, or if someone was murdered in a certain area, or if there were great triumphs in an area. You can feel all of these energies, and like spiritual sites around the world are like that, because there has been great spiritual connection there, and people can feel the uplifting organic connection. And sometimes it is a distorted religious following connection, but you can feel all these energies and these essentially pockets of energy around the world. So it's very fascinating. And there's different plant life as well, which also have different signatures. So all of that plays a factor in how we resonate with each part of the world. But yeah, going back to what Michael was saying about health, I think we should definitely do an episode on that, maybe our next episode. What I will just mention in terms of health is, like, our emotional health is perhaps the most important, and emotional health is determined by three things. Our physiology can change our emotional state, our focus affects our emotional state, and our internal dialogue and the meaning we give behind things determines our emotional state. So our physiology, our focus, and the meaning we put behind things all come together to form kind of like a triangle of, like, our emotional state. And our emotional state determines our life experience, because when you're in a low emotional state, it doesn't matter how good the external is, you're still going to have a poor life experience. But if you are feeling ecstatic internally, it doesn't matter what's going on externally, you'll always feel like you're beyond it. You'll always feel above whatever negative things are happening. So as emotional beings, of course, our emotional state is the most important part of our lives. So physiology, like Michael was saying, like get out and get the body moving, whether you do yoga or walking or something in the morning that is not just turning on the phone and sitting stagnant and keeping that energy stagnant and just sitting in nothingness and not having that life force moving through you. That will affect your emotions if you don't get the body moving. And then what Mark was saying about what you choose to focus on with social media, he intentionally goes for the funny stuff or the uplifting stuff or the good news that's out there to change his emotional state to be in a high vibe. And what Michael was saying, like we can be aware of the things that are going on in the planet that are a little more concerning, but we never have to be worried or fearful. Like a lot of the technical intelligence stuff we shared in this episode about the different gods and stuff like that, and different matrices that are trying to harvest life force. It's good to be aware of that stuff to know what's going on, but we by no means want to instill fear in anyone by sharing this stuff. Like we are beyond any of the imposition levels that we talk about on the show, whether it's human beings or dark entities or the God matrix. We're beyond all of that. So we do not wish to warn anyone or to instill fear at all. Like we are beyond everything. We can transcend all of it. It's just valuable to, I guess, be aware and to know that we hold the power, and wherever you focus is where your life and your emotional state will go. And then the last one I was going to say is just the internal dialogue we have with ourselves and the meaning we give behind things determines our emotional state as well, because you can see a sunset and not really stop to appreciate and not really be conscious of the meaning behind it. And like because you can put any symbolism that you choose behind anything, so you can see it as the start or the end of a beautiful day, or just appreciate all the universal forces that have to come together for us to even experience the sunset. Like we're floating here on a ball and gravity is holding us down, and we're in perfect proximity away from this beautiful ball of light that is hitting our planet on a specific angle to have all these different colors. And when you start getting behind all the details of life like that, it's like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is so much beauty in everything. And the fact that I'm a conscious being who has vision to see it and just take it all in, it really, like, you start becoming overwhelmed with appreciation. And I think as we start to add more meaning and more awareness behind everything, like our emotional state will arise because we just become more appreciative of everything. So I guess I just wanted to focus on those three things: the physiology, the focus, and the meaning we put behind things, because I really notice when I'm aware of those three things, my emotional state really does improve. And I want everyone's emotional state to improve, because that means your life will improve.
Yeah, right on, Zach. Yeah, it's really important to step back and look at life, and go out in the nighttime and look at the night sky and realize that we're on one beautiful planet in one star system out of how many billions of stars in one galaxy. And there's more galaxies in the universe than there's grains of sand on Mother Earth. Try and get your mind around that. So life is vast. There's really, what's going on here is it's really it's not a lot. It's a reality, and we're in this reality experiencing a little section of what life has the ability to be in this universe. But there's so much life on so many levels, even on this planet. Mother Earth is multidimensional, and there's other realities going in coexistence with this one on a different vibrational frequency. And then you got other planets in our solar system that are multidimensional, that have different life and different multidimensional aspects. The sun and other star systems. So life is just so vast and so deep and so thick and everywhere around us. It's just total vice versa to what we've been taught. So yeah, really good words of both you guys. And as we're talking here, I keep thinking of more titles we can do, even just communication between people and how words are perceived through emotional states and things like that. I think that's really important with, husband-wife relationship or girlfriend-boyfriend kind of thing, or whatever relationship, mother-father, and so on. So really good stuff shared today. Hey, I just wanted to ask both of you, have you noticed, especially since yesterday, a shift in energy, like really big time? I know for me, like I've got this huge energy inside of me that just it's basically said enough, and it's like I can plow through anything right now.
I have kind of come to a point of that feeling of enough for sure, just internally with certain things that I'm working on. And it did come in the last couple of days, so that's funny that you mentioned that. Yeah. In terms of plowing through anything, I haven't really been that busy in the last couple of days, so I can't necessarily say I'm plowing through everything, but I definitely felt that shift of just enough is enough, man. Like you need to focus on the right things, and yeah.
How about
Did
you,
you
Mark?
say you felt that shift yesterday, Michael?
Yeah, I believe it was yesterday morning. And
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, it was the day before that. It was actually the day before that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because something changed for me yesterday too. Because I could feel that I was processing a lot. Because, it seems that there is a point where my body feels overloaded when it's processing a lot. And when that happens, I feel really icky. It's difficult to describe, but I feel toxic. I feel there is toxicity in my body, and it's not a pleasant sensation. And I've had that since Wednesday last week, and it started to lift yesterday. So yeah, I've experienced a shift. Yes.
Yeah, because that. I mean, I still feel quite a bit of internal energy. It's a really good feeling. But the first day, at the end of the day,
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to leave now.
okay.
So I'm going to let you end the episodes, the two of you, and I agree to goodbye. All the best to you guys and to our listeners, and see you again soon.
All right. Well,
Thank you, Mark.
thanks for
Bye.
your participation. Always appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Take care.
All right. So yeah, a lot of great wisdom by Mark there too. So appreciate him being with us. Yeah, I just want to mention that I found the day before yesterday, and at the end of the day, I really had to be in my own state, be by myself, because I really needed to bring. It felt like a lot of me was actually not even in my body. I had to reground, bring myself back in, and bring myself back home. It was for me. It even felt it felt on the verge of losing myself. That's how intense it was. Like, obviously feel a lot better now. But what did I get out of that experience? Just I think being aware of how I felt and realizing that I was with somebody at the time, and I had to tell them, I really need to be by myself. Please turn your music off. Blah blah blah. I need to be by myself. So if you feel that and you're with, your partner or with a friend or whatever, and you feel that calling and you're not feeling good, a lot of our real great medicine is just, being alone and, getting out to Mother Nature or a quiet place in your house or whatever, and take that time to, reintegrate every aspect of yourself back to yourself. Because, there's people that do healing modalities called soul retrieval, where aspects of you through trauma or emotional trauma actually get, anchored into other people's lives, or, taken away or anchored in a different aspect of reality because of the trauma that you've gone through in life. So important to bring those aspects back of you back home and be who you whole, be your whole self. I'm trying to say, because I sure felt a lot better after that, but before that, it was not a good feeling to go through that.
Mm. Yeah, like you mentioned a couple of really good things, because I think a lot of people feel like they can't ask for that space to be alone when we all have the right to. And we all should have that space to be alone, to recharge and recalibrate and to work through our own stuff, and just to allow the well-being to be restored. Because even if someone else is in your life and they're supportive of you, it's still oftentimes more valuable to be in solitude, because that's where we can truly connect without the interference of any other energies, even if they are supportive energies. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I always want to encourage people, and like I know you do too, to find their heart essence again, so that they can show up for themselves better and show up for others better. And then soul retrieval as well is an important thing, and we could even do an episode on this. There's a lot of good stuff that we're coming up with here, but trauma very much removes us from our soul essence. Trauma shocks the system, and a lot of times, depending on what we've been through, a piece of us is left, or a piece of us fades away from us through the traumatic experience, and we need to go through certain practices to bring that aspect of ourselves back into us. And sometimes it's trauma that we have caused others that also causes this. So it's anything that really just shocks the system, and it's very important to find those aspects of ourselves and bring them back. And there's different ways to do that. There's meditative practices, there's just following your passions, and that can also bring it back. There's also plant medicines that can help bring that back as well, through different plant ceremonies I've heard of, such as iboga or ayahuasca, or just different plants that can help reawaken that and bring you back to your heart soul essence. So I encourage you to look into that more. There's some good stuff on trauma and soul retrieval if you give it a YouTube or a Google search. But yeah, that's all I have to say for today. Michael, did you have anything to add?
No, it's really good stuff, Zach, as always. So really appreciate you and your wisdom. It really helps me and provides clarity in my journey. So thank you for that.
Likewise, thank you.
And like you said, we talked about so many good things, that there's so many other shows we can do with so many neat topics that we're talking about today. So I'm having a lot more topic ideas come up as you're talking here too again. Yeah, trauma, soul retrieval, emotional trauma is such a big one. So I'm sure we'll have another great show the next time we get together. So just want to thank Mark again for his contribution, always appreciated. And I love us all getting together like we do. So even though it was tough to have a little bit of a sleep and get up to come here, I tell you, only having a couple hours sleep, you feel pretty much like shit, thinking, why am I doing this? I'm trying to figure where I am to get feeling good.
Yeah, man, you should go back to bed.
Always so glad that I get together with you guys It's
Yeah.
great and really appreciate it. I'm really grateful for the technology to do this too.
Yeah, me
So
too.
yeah, so have a great day over there, and we'll definitely chat again. And we'll see. Hopefully, we can get together next week or whenever it's good for all three of us, and we'll again bring another great topic up. And just if for the people watching and listening, I just want to remind them that we do help people with clarity on their journeys. So if you want to get a hold of Zach or Mark or myself and have a 1 hour session or a half-hour session with one of us, give me an email. My email address is musical1@telus.net. That's the word musical, the number one, at telus, TELUS.net. And then I can, if you want to get hold of Zach, I can get your information to him or to Mark and go from there. So anyways, good night to all, and thank you for watching, and really appreciate your energy and watching our get-togethers. So thank you again. Excuse me. Thank you, Zach. And
Thank you.
and good night to everybody, and we'll see you all again.